All right, welcome. Today we've got a story for you where ancient mysticism and, super modern technology totally collide, and it's all about cracking a 100-year-old code hidden inside this tiny, sacred object.
You see, in Thailand, an amulet like this, it's not just a piece of jewelry. No way. It's seen as a powerful spiritual object filled with protective energy by some of the most revered monks. And for the people who believe in them, and for collectors, their value is, well, it's huge, both in a spiritual sense and, financially too.
Now, the specific amulets we're looking at today, they're said to come from one of the most powerful monks of his time. So this isn't just some old artifact we're talking about. This is something created directly by a spiritual master. That's a whole different level.
And right there, that's where we hit the big problem. The market is absolutely flooded with fakes, and some of them are so good they can fool even the experts. For more than 100 years, figuring out what's real has been all about opinion, about belief. But is that really good enough? Really?
Think about it. The stakes here are incredibly high. On one hand, you could have a priceless sacred artifact that's believed to protect you, and on the other, a worthless chunk of modern metal. So how on earth do you tell the difference? Well, the answer starts with the man who made the real ones.
So, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to get to know the master himself. Let's talk about Luang Pho Tha, an absolute legend from the late 1800s and early 1900s. So, he was born way back in 1823, during the time of King Rama III. He lived this incredibly long and important life, passing away in 1919 when he was 96 years old. This was a man who saw the world change completely, and his reputation, it was seriously formidable.
And his legend really took off because of this one incredible event. Picture this. There's a big temple festival, and Luang Pho Tha walks up and holds his hand right over the opening of a huge firework. Instead of blowing up in his face, it explodes out the side, and he's left totally unharmed. He did it to scare off some local troublemakers, and it worked. It even gave his temple its famous name, Wat Phaneng Taek, which means the Temple of the Exploding Firework. How cool is that?
And his mystique, it just grew and grew from there. He got the nickname Luang Pho Suea, the Tiger Monk. He was feared, but also deeply respected. And this wasn't just some local legend, In 1909, there was this famous test of psychic ability, and he was officially recognized as one of the top 10 most powerful monks in the entire country. The real deal.
But here's the thing. Luang Pho Tha's power wasn't just spiritual. He was also a master alchemist, an expert in a craft that was both ancient and deeply mystical.
This practice is called Len Ray Pray That, and it's basically the Thai tradition of alchemy, of transforming metals. Monks would take different ores and minerals, blend them together, add sacred herbs, say some incantations, all to create these special alloys that were believed to have supernatural powers. And Luang Pho Tha? He mastered two of the most legendary formulas.
Okay, so the first one was called Mekakafat, and visually this stuff is just beautiful. It's this deep, glossy black, but when the light hits it just right, you see this mysterious bluish indigo shine. For years and years, nobody knew how he did that. It was a total mystery.
And then there was his second creation, which was even weirder, Mekasit. This alloy, it shimmers with this almost alien-like iridescence. The color shifts from green to gold to purple, kind of like a beetle's wing. What it was made of, that question baffled everyone. Collectors, scientists, you name it, for over 100 years. So, for a century, these incredible metals kept their secrets locked away. But now, today, we actually have the tools to crack the code. Remember what we said about all the fakes? That's the key here. For so long, without any real science to back it up, it was just one expert's opinion versus another's. There was no hard proof, nothing to say for sure this is real and this is just a really good copy. And that's where our modern-day detective comes in, the X-ray fluorescent spectrometer, or XRF for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a high-tech scanner. You point it at something and it tells you exactly what elements it's made of, like its unique chemical fingerprint. And the best part? It doesn't damage the object at all, not even a scratch.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. What happened when they used this machine on genuine amulets from Luang Pho Tha? This is the moment the legend walks right into the science lab.
So let's start with that first metal, Mekafat. After 100 years of people guessing and wondering, what's the actual secret formula? The results from the XRF scanner were incredible. Every single authentic Mekafot amulet they tested had almost the exact same recipe. It's a super precise alloy of nearly 50% copper and 50% lead. This wasn't just random mixing. This was a standardized, repeatable formula. And get this, that exact formula is what explains the mysterious color. It's pretty simple physics, actually. Lead is way heavier than copper. So when the metal was molten and cooling down in the mold, the heavy lead would naturally sink towards the surface. So that skin of lead on the outside of the amulet, that's what creates that signature bluish indigo sheen. Just like that, science solved the riddle.
All right, now for the really mysterious one, mecasite. For ages, the story was that its weird, shimmery colors came from mercury. That was the secret ingredient everyone talked about. But when the spectrometer scanned the real ones, the results were crystal clear. Look at this. 0. Not a single trace of mercury. The myth was totally busted.
So if it wasn't mercury, what in the world was making that crazy beetle wing effect? Well, the truth is actually way cooler. The analysis found tiny trace amounts of two really interesting elements, tellurium and phosphorus. Now, these elements do funky things with light. They basically scatter it all over the surface, creating that shimmering, color-changing effect. So it wasn't magic. It was a masterful scientific understanding of how to use rare elements to literally band light.
So what's the big takeaway here? When you step back and look at all of this, the science reveals something pretty amazing about where faith and hard facts meet.
Here's the most important point of all. The science didn't destroy the legend of Luang Pho Tha. Not at all. In fact, it proved his genius. Those consistent, super precise formulas show he wasn't just a mystic throwing stuff in a pot. He was a master craftsman, almost like an early scientist. He had a standardized process that he could repeat, getting incredible results over 100 years ago that we're only now able to fully understand and appreciate.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. We now have this chemical fingerprint, right? A way to spot the real deal and protect this incredible tradition from fakes. But does finding the scientific formula take away the magic? Or does it just reveal the absolute genius behind it all? Does it just give us a new way to appreciate the incredible skill that, believers have felt was there all along?